So I'm going to call this meeting of the Central Valley Flood Protection Board of Friday, February 27th, 2026 to order. First order of business is to determine a quorum. Mr. Knapp, please call the roll.
Member Andrews,
Present.
Member Bosler,
Here.
Member Countryman,
Online.
Member Griego is absent. Secretary Johnson,
I'm here online. Sorry, I'm Ellen today, not there in person.
Vice President Valines is absent. President Dolan.
I'm here. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, forgot about me. President Dolan here, 5. We have one that's late and one that will not be present. I'm going to violate Board Member Griego's privacy by telling you that she had an unfortunate fall and hurt her ankle significantly. She's laid up and will need extensive surgery on that. She was going to try for it today. So all good wishes to her, of course. She's not a happy camper.
Shane, what's going on? I also have a broken ankle.
Yeah, well, Member Countryman, I suggested that maybe the two of you could be somewhere together and just mourn collectively, but she's not able to move. That's just too bad. So, I'm sorry for that. And Board Member Johnson, I hope you get better. We had elementary schools in Chico closed for a week because of this flu bug going around, and they just didn't have enough students to warrant doing anything for that week. So I hope yours is short-lived. I know it's miserable. So thanks for making the effort to be online. We also have here at our, is it dais or dais? I never do that. Anyway, at the tables, we also have our Chief Executive Officer, Chris Leaf. We have our Deputy Executive Officer, Andrea Buckley. We have our, I call him the helper, and that's not derogatory. This young man is everything for us. So it's Jonah Knapp, who is very take care of everything. We have our board attorney, Mr. Dua, and our chief engineer, Michael Wright, over here. Glad that you're with us. I see the audience as you come forward because I'm going to ask every one of you to say something. And we've got the online. So next item is to ask Mr. Leaf if he has any announcements or introductions.
I do have an introduction.
Okay.
So we are excited to welcome Cheryl Rowe, who's joining the Land Management section as the new Supervisor 1 Specialist supporting the Sacramento and San Joaquin Drainage District Property Abatement Program.
Just one pause here. The rule of thumb here is that the president asks you to stand up long enough that we can see you. Well, welcome. Thank you. And good to have you on board. Thank you.
Yeah, Cheryl comes from DWR, and she has more than 10 years of state contracting experience in fiscal oversight. Her extensive knowledge of state contracting code and policy and the ability to provide high-level customer service will allow the board to find opportunities to implement the abatement program more effectively and efficiently.
Are we
Welcome, Cheryl.
allowed to say wow?
Yeah, wow.
Welcome.
And I have no other announcements.
Okay, no other announcements, no introductions. I'm going to give a brief overview of the agenda. It's just an overview. We make more announcements of what it is when we come to each item. Item 4 is the minutes, January 16th, 2026. Item 5 is identified as consent, and there are 3. There's 4? Oh, sorry about that. I got, no, there's 4. There's something later on. Yes, this is identified as consent items. They're all taken as once. There's 4 items. Item 6 is public comment. I think that you all know at this point it's for matters that someone wishes to speak to us. I have one card for something that is within our jurisdiction but not on the agenda today. Item 7, we will note a written legislative update provided by our executive officer. He says he doesn't want to talk, but if we have questions, we're allowed. Item 8 is a placeholder today only. We have no presentation or presence of the Army Corps of Engineers. Item 9 is board items, and there are 2. The agenda that went out indicated that there were three, but item 9A has been removed from today's agenda. There will be no work on that one at all. Item 10, there are two items from DWR. One is receiving their monthly report of activities, and the other is to hear an updated work of the 2027 Central Valley Flood Protection Plan. And I thought you were over there, even though I said good morning. So we have a star to tell us all about it, and others as well. So glad to have you here. Item 11, board staff. Divisions and branches provide information of their monthly activities. It's quite a informative read that they provide to us, and we also see the printed report by our executive officer of delegated permits. Item 12 is board members to give comments about what they've been up to or not, and committee updates. Item 13 is a list of our future meetings. Item 14, Mr. Dua, closed session.
Yes, we will have a closed session today. Thank you.
Do you think it's possible when that happens that we can convene in the utility room and not make people go out? Let's think about that. Because we have to go somewhere or else you do, so we'll think about that. And then we come back and say whether we said anything of importance, and after all that is our adjournment. Anything for the order of the day? We can stand. It's small, but there's not a lot of us today. Okay, then we'll move on. We have taken care of the roll call, quorum, welcome introductions, and the agenda review. Board Member Brian Johnson, are you ready to provide the minutes report?
Board Member Brian is here.
Yay, sound pretty good.
Yeah, working on it. This is the January 16 minutes. I reviewed them. I believe they're in order, and I move that they be approved.
Okay, we have a motion before us from Member Johnson to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Member. That's our joke now, since I blanked on it one day. I think we can actually see you, Mr. Countryman. Glad for that. Okay. Anyone want to talk about it anymore? Just the board? Okay. Please call the roll for a vote.
Member Andrews,
Aye.
Member Bosler,
Aye.
Member Countryman,
Yes.
Member Griego is absent, Secretary Johnson,
Aye.
Vice President Valines is absent, President Dolan.
I'm here, yes. Forgive me for sometimes being a little jumbled. I just am working on it. Okay. Can you call and see if he's coming? Okay. Well, yes, we do know Mr. Valines might be up in Truckee and snowed in. Okay. Item number 5, consent items. We have 4, so I'm going to ask our chief engineer to introduce those items and name them. Mr. Wright.
Good morning, President Dolan, members of the board. Michael Wright, Chief Engineer. We have 4 items on consent today. 5A is permit number 19893, American River Bridge segment replacement by Union Pacific Railroad in Sacramento County. 5B is permit 19982, Big Chico Creek channel restoration by California Trout and the City of Chico in Butte County. 5C is permit number 20003, Goldfields West embankment element of the Climate Resiliency Project by Three Rivers Levee Improvement Authority in Yuba County.
Say that 3 times.
And 5D is permit number 20020, Pump Station 1 replacement, City of Redding in Shasta County. All the items are in order. I've heard of no objections from the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers or any other agency or individuals.
Thank you. Board members have any questions on these or any need to remove one for discussion? I only have to look to my right this time. How about the 2 of you online? You okay with going forward? Silence is good. Oh, great. Then we'll proceed to a vote. Is there a motion to approve the consent items as presented and described?
Move to approve.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion by Board Member Countryman and a second by Board Member Bosler. Did I get that right? Okay. All right, we'll proceed to a roll call for the vote.
Member Andrews,
Aye.
Member Bosler,
Aye.
Member Countryman,
Aye.
Member Griego is absent. Secretary Johnson,
Aye.
Vice President Valines is absent. President Dolan.
Yes. So that passes. Help me with my math here. I'm struggling. Is it 5? 5 and 2 absent. Okay, that motion carries. So thank you. So we will move to the item that is called public comment. And I have 2 who have indicated they wish to speak. So I will call them. And then I'll see if there's anyone else. The first one that I would call forward, if he wishes to, is Mr. Tom Engler. Good morning.
Good morning, President Dolan, members of the board, Tom Engler, MBK Engineers, here on behalf of the Central Valley Flood Control Association. So I'm here today because it's been a year since you guys received a briefing on the Sac Bank program, and it's almost a year to the date, so I figured it'd be a good time to come and talk on Sac Bank one more time.
You said that it's you guys.
I'm sorry. So Sac Bank program was originally authorized in 1960, and in the chief's report it said the solution to the bank and levee erosion problem is considered a joint local federal responsibility. That authorization included some statements by the state at the time that navigation on the river below Sacramento causes substantial erosion of the levees and banks, that the use of the Sac River as a canal for the Central Valley Project increases erosion of the banks adjacent to the levees, that under current standards of design, completed units of the project turned over to local interest for maintenance require extraordinary expenditures of funds for bank protection, and that local districts are not financially able to undertake substantial bank protection for maintenance purposes. Also, that on the Mississippi River, bank protection is being undertaken at a federal expense. So that was all agreed to back in 1960 for 50 to 60 years. That's how it occurred. Back in 2019, the Corps completed a post-authorization change report. And there was one good thing and one bad thing in that report. The good thing was that it outlined a new comprehensive process to select sites for repair, along with a range of engineering solutions, including setback, adjacent levees, bank fill, stone protection, as well as revegetated riparian benches and in-stream woody debris. Right, that's obviously a goal of ours through the flood protection plan, so that's now included in Sac Bank. The problem with that packer is that it also changed the approach to prioritize system repairs, relying on an economic analysis that went basin by basin, whereas previously the economic analysis was for the system as a whole. So at the request of the board staff, DWR, the Corps reallocated IIJA funds towards an economic reevaluation. That work began in 2021, but they quickly discovered that it would require authorization all the way up to the Assistant Secretary of the Army. That work was eventually put on hold in 2024, and funding's been insufficient to continue. Last February, as I mentioned, Mr. Zalazo briefed you all and a letter was subsequently sent, but I haven't seen really much happen since then. So the last several years have produced high water, not really any floods, but the high water is what really damages the banks more than high waters. High waters, we get a lot of levee erosion, but during these moderate high water events, we're seeing a ton of bank erosion. These are repairs that Sac Bank would have historically took. So what we're here today to ask for is that board and staff continue to work with the Corps to encourage economic reevaluation as a system rather than basin by basin approach. That you advocate for additional federal funding of at least $6 million to complete the reevaluation and continue to make repairs that have been prioritized. And then the third one is something that I kind of threw in here last minute, is that maybe we all work together board, DWR, and Corps to find some more cost-effective ways to make these repairs. Right now, the Corps designs these like they're a big urban protection project, whereas we could probably back those repair offs and make the funding go a lot further. We just need to find ways to do that. So with that, I'll answer any questions.
We can ask questions, we just can't get into a big discussion. of,
Correct.
Saying that we'll do what you offered, but we're making notes, and it is transcribed. Board members have any comments, questions?
Well, thank you.
Thank you for coming today and remind us of that. We kind of all know, but it's also very helpful to bring it out.
Yep,
For
I like to be
discussion.
the one to remind, keep
Yeah.
things on the forefront.
So,
Thank you.
Happy to see you every meeting. Okay, thank you. Next up, who was kind enough to provide a card, is Mr. Stuart Hansen. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Thank you, President Dolan and Board, for the chance to come and appear. I'm Stuart Hansen. I'm with Shady Oaks Ranch, and I'm also here on behalf of the Gibb family. They have an adjoining property, and we're part of the newly formed Maintenance Area 20. I wanted to come and just personally thank you for entering into a tolling agreement with us, which will give us some breathing room to explore a lot of alternatives. And I want to especially thank your board counsel, Mr. Dua. He shepherded the agreement through to the end, and Jeet, we very much appreciate your efforts working with Brian Manning and Ralph Nevis. Mr. Valines was correct when he said it wouldn't be fair to put 100% of the costs of the levy on just the farmers, small group of farmers. He's right. Unfortunately, that's what happened. That's the bad part. The good part is a number of alternatives were discussed among the board members, and there was a lot of discussion in the hallway after the meeting. So encouraging signs that maybe we can find some ways to mitigate the hardship that this is going to cause. And the tolling agreement will give us time to do that. And thank you very much for entering into it. We appreciate it.
Well, we appreciate the compliments you're giving us, and we certainly hope things can be worked out appropriately.
Yes, thank you.
And we agree with you on the quality of our attorney. Right? Yes. Okay. I don't have any other cards of those who wish to speak to the board on public comment, something that is within our jurisdiction but not on today's agenda. Any hands up in the audience? I see none. Do we have any on? Okay. No, because we're missing our friends. Or maybe not. That wasn't nice, Jane. Okay. All right, then we'll move on. Just chatting away. Item 7 is legislative update, which we've received in writing from our executive officer. Did you want to highlight anything, Mr. Leaf?
No, thank you.
You don't have any good news coming out of Washington, D.C.?
No comment.
No comment, you bet. Okay, thank you. I really appreciate you putting that together. It's always interesting. Okay, item number 8. I'm just going to state it because it's on here, so I'm going to read it. United States Army Corps of Engineers placeholder. I don't know why we just don't put it there. Do we know? Oh, next door is the Delta Protection. Yeah, they get the bigger room. Item number 9. As I said before, if you are looking for any presentation or interest in A, it's off the agenda for today, so we're going to go to B. I think Bob. And this will be an action item. Andrea Buckley will introduce. Preston Shopwell, Board Staff of Operations, will also share the information, and we'll be looking toward adopting the regulation rulemaking to go forward. Good morning, Ms. Buckley.
Good morning, President Dolan, members of the board. My name is Andrea Buckley, Deputy Executive Officer here at the board, and I am joined today by Preston Shopbell, our Inspection Section Manager, to present item 9B, the board's regulatory fee update for the California Code of Regulations, Title 23, Division 1. And this hearing today represents the formal approval public hearing required by the Administrative Procedures Act. Next slide, please. As a brief reminder, this regulatory update continues the board's effort to modernize its fee structure, better align fees with actual service costs, and reduce reliance on the general fund. As a summary of the presentation today, we'll be covering the proposed changes, which I would like to note remain unchanged since the package was presented to the board last November. Additionally, we will discuss the outreach and coordination with our partners and this board in 2025 on this regulatory update. And should the board decide to proceed today with an approval, we will be summarizing the remaining steps needed to complete the regulatory update. Additionally, there are necessary operational and outreach steps needed to implement a new fee structure by the target date. And we would be closing with the staff recommendation for your consideration. So with that, I invite Preston to provide a review of the proposed update.
Thank you, Andrea. Good morning, President Dolan, members of the board.
Good morning.
I'm Preston Shopwell, manager of the inspection section at the board. So diving into and doing a quick and brief overview of the nuts and bolts of what's in this regulatory package. First of all, as Andrea said, it's the same package that you saw back in November that was put out on the street. And so here's some of the highlights of those. So it is a new approach to permit application fees, which I'll get into on the next page. But on this page, I wanted to mention that it's updates to the existing fees that we already have. That's permit review fees, as well as construction inspection fees, and updates to minor alterations requests and maintenance authorization requests as well, or maintenance concurrence, sorry. A big note for down to the bottom, you see our a snippet of our existing fee structure. A big note, I guess it didn't come through, but those last two columns, the routine inspection fees and the frequencies, are going away in the proposed update. The program didn't seem to have the exact need that we wanted for the board to reduce the risk in the way that we wanted to, so those are going away. And we're reevaluating that program to focus on a risk-based approach to checking in on encroachments with the limited field resources we do have. Next slide, please. So probably the largest changes to the existing fees is our approach to permit application fees. We recognize that through our coordination efforts with the Central Valley Flood Control Association, as well as other interested parties, that simply correlating a fee to the type of encroachment as it currently stands is not really enough to be reflective of that effort and the corresponding cost to review, process, approve, and issue permits like you see before you today. Therefore, we have an approach that's more reflective of that approval process. It utilizes a base fee up at the top that is due with the permit application and an activity fee that is due prior to the permit being issued. This activity fee is dependent on the type of encroachment, the location of encroachment, that's reflected in that subcategory on the bottom left, and federal involvement, the method of approval, and whether a variance to our standards are needed, because all of those are effort-based pieces of the approval process. So as an example of a low fee permit, something low like a landside fence of the land side of the levee that's just happens to be within 10 feet of the toe or within our real estate easement. The flood risk is low, the review is relatively short. That fee is going to be much lower than, for instance, a swimming pool near a federal levee in that type of jurisdiction, which requires geotechnical analysis and a lot of other approvals from state and federal government for that, and our coordination with the federal government, excuse me. So that's just the sort of the background of the new approach to permit application fees. Next slide, please. Other existing fees that we've updated, as I said before, are minor alteration request reviews, maintenance concurrent requests, name change permit requests, and construction inspection fees. And those are all based on the increasing cost for staff and the efforts to put those out. The new regulatory fees that we've put before you in November and previously were time variance requests, revision in plans, Sacramento and San Joaquin Drainage District land management fees, as well as flood system improvement project fees, which are all outlined in the package before you. Next slide, please. All right, I'll hand it back over to Andrea for the other part of the updates.
So we made also a couple of changes to fee waivers, refunds, and alternative payment methods. With the current regulations that we have today do not allow for fee waivers, but the proposed update will allow the board to enter into a funding agreement in lieu of the posted fees when it is more appropriate for a project or program. Additionally, the proposed regulations allow for refunds if there was an error by staff in the fee calculation, or if the applicant withdraws the application prior to the board completing their 30-day completeness review. Additionally, to streamline future fee updates, the proposed regulations include provisions for administrative fee adjustments. This will be limited to once a year and will be tied to the forecasted California Consumer Price Index for all urban consumers as reported in the annual price letter issued by the Department of Finance. This will include clear parameters for public notice and implementation timelines. Next slide, please. Over the past year, we've had several rounds of stakeholder engagement. We met with focus groups in January, held public workshops April and August, and coordinated with the California Flood Control Association, DWR, and Department of Finance. These discussions helped us refine the fee structure, adjust the formulas and methodology to better reflect project complexity and the staff effort required to process. This package reflects the input and consensus building process for this regulatory update. This rulemaking package was available in the California Regulatory Register for the required 45-day comment period on November 28, 2025, and the comment period closed on January 12, 2026. We received no comments during that time. Therefore, the documents you approved at the November 14 workshop remain the same as the ones you see today. So at this time, I ask Preston to come back up and present the next steps in the process, and then finally our staff recommendation.
Thanks again, Andrea. Okay, so moving forward.
Mr. Shotbell.
Yes.
That's for James.
Preston Shotbell. So moving forward for the next steps. Like Ms. Buckley said, we have the draft regulations before you today, and they are still subject to further board review if a couple things happen. If we receive any public comments today, because this is a hearing, right? This is the opportunity for the public to weigh in on them, as well as after today, if it is approved, we'll be sending over to the Department of Finance, and they're going to dig into the economic impact, which is their main piece of the rulemaking package. So if no comments come back from either the public today, from you, or the Department of Finance, and the rules essentially stay the same, we will be moving forward to make the rulemaking package be effective with Office of Administrative Law. We'll also be going to Office of Administrative Law. They have a 30-day window to provide comments, and we'll be responding to them. And let me back up 1 minute. I missed a point. Department of Finance also strives to process their review within 30 days. There could be some back and forth to clarify some of our analysis, things like that. We're anticipating some of that, but that is kind of the timeline we're on. So of course, and then the results from this hearing will be added to that final rulemaking package, so a whole thing. So a lot of bullets here. If we go to the next slide, because I'm an engineer and I like boxes and processes, that's what we're looking at here. So,
And horizontal and vertical lines.
right, both, right? So we're at the hearing on February 27th today, and the quote-unquote wild cards are the 3 green boxes at the top of what we're if there's any input that might change that. And if anything changes the regulations that we have before you, we will come back to you again to make sure that we're all on the same page, that you are aware of any changes that really affect that. Maybe not a typo or grammatical issue or something like that, but something that fundamentally the public and you would want to know for that. And then the last piece I wanted to add for this slide, I'm sorry if you could go back, that all of this hopefully will be done by May 31st. The OAL and the Secretary of State new rulemaking typically gets effective on a quarterly basis. So there's a little bit of a lag between getting it filed and then have those rules actually be effective and implemented. We're gunning for July 1st. That means we have to have that all done by May 31st. Otherwise, it would be kicked to the next quarter in October. Hopefully that made sense. All right, next slide, please. So of course, we need to prepare ourselves, staff, our organization, to be prepared for if and when these do get through and are effective. So we are working on the development of an online calculator for those permit review fees, which it kind of has those factors and things. Not a complicated equation, but we want to be able to be upfront with the public to go to our website and to, if they have a proposed project, they can see upfront generally how much the review and overall costs for permitting from the board would be. We would work with our software developer to integrate that into that permit application portal, the online portal. And of course, be giving more information on our website to reflect those fee updates. And then of course, working with our staff to make sure everyone's on the same page and how they need to change their processes to accommodate processing the new fees. And then of course, we'll be providing further presentations or any updates to the board or public, either in this forum or other coordination meetings or however we want to do it to get the word out and make sure people are aware. So that's what we're working on in the background concurrently with getting these regulations through the rulemaking process. So next slide, please. With that, our recommendation today is to approve the rulemaking package, which is an attachment in your board packages, for submittal to Department of Finance and OAL, subject to any additional board member review and approval if comments that are received from the public, DOF, or any way that would effectuate or effectively change what we have before you today. And then, of course, direct the executive officers to make those necessary actions to finalize that with Office of Administrative Law. And that's all I have. I'll leave it on this screen and answer any questions for you. Thank you.
You might want to take a seat. We'll see if there's any questions. I won't make my comments first. Board members, any questions? Any need to suggest amendments? Andrews? Bosler? I see that now. Member Bosler.
So, yeah, I see there's been no changes to the flood system improvement projects, which are going, I mean, I think realistically, most of those are going to be funded with large allocations of public funds, bond funds, other funding sources. I'm just wondering, like, in the case of like most bond funds, they have administrative caps. And are these fees going to have to fit within those administrative caps, or are they just project costs, like buying dirt or buying sandbags or whatever the issues are?
I think I can answer that question. So Chris Leaf, Executive Officer. So permit fees are typically considered project costs. So they wouldn't be part of that administrative cap.
I think that's appropriate, how we're handling this, as opposed to doing some other arrangement for funding our costs associated with implementing the projects.
Okay. Member Countryman, do you have any need to
No.
make changes?
No comments.
Oh, bless you. Board Member Johnson.
No, thank you.
Okay, no need to make changes, huh? Okay, that's good. I think that the effort that the board has put on this and the collaboration with our Flood Control Association, maintaining agencies, DWR, anyone who wanted to say something, and the time that you put into that, not as a lengthy, but to incorporate that into this package is a reason that no one's saying very much right now. I should ask if there's anyone with a hand up before I say no one's wants a comment or change. Any hands up on this? None? Okay. Audience. Mr. Engler, if you suggest a change, oh, you're smiling, so I feel better. Tom Engler.
President Dolan, members of the board, thank you again. You've heard our comments before, but I did see that this was being recorded, so I figured I'd take one more opportunity to make the comment. We do very much appreciate the support and the work that your staff has done with us, and for you all that have listened and taken our comments into consideration. But we still definitely object to the fact that we're being charged permit fees to do work that benefits the entire system. The state is responsible for that system, and we still disagree with the fact that those fees are being charged, but we do understand that was a directive from above, so I'm making these comments so that hopefully whoever made that directive actually finally hears them. Thank you.
Duly noted. I don't think we would argue with you on that, but there's lots of rules and crankiness with this thing, and trying to bring our rulemaking up to the 21st century has been longer than the 21st century, longer than the 20th century. So we'll move forward. We'll see if it works, and we'll just keep trying to do the right thing. Okay, appreciate all that. Any other comments? I'm going once, twice, 3 times. Room, board, online. Okay. Staff recommends that we approve and adopt the rulemaking package for submittal to the Office of Administrative Law today, and to direct the executive officer to take the necessary actions to finalize this rulemaking document and submittal. Is there a motion to that to be made?
I move that we make take the actions as recommended by staff.
Okay. The motion to approve the action requested, Member Andrews, is there a second?
I'm happy to second that.
Okay, Bosler got it first. Second by Member Bosler. She has the advantage being in the room, but we recognize that if you're not well, you have to do it online. Okay, so we are ready to see if this will be approved. So please call the roll for a vote.
Member Andrews?
Aye.
Member Bosler?
Aye.
Member Countryman?
Aye.
Member Griego is absent. Secretary Johnson?
Aye.
Vice President Valines is absent. President Dolan?
Yes. That motion passes affirmatively, 5 votes yes, and 2 are not with, are absent today. So good job. Nicely done, actually readable.
Thank you.
3.5 pages of underlines, which means changes, so we're making progress. Wait a second here. I don't want this. I want this. Okay. So that takes care of item 9B. So we're now going to move to item 9C, as in cute. Board staff member Mike Zalazzo is going to introduce us, and we also have manager of Jacobs Engineering, Rob Toll. Good morning. You want to sit at the table for the up and down? Good morning.
Oh.
Yes?
Good morning. Good morning, President Dolan and members of the board. My name is Mike Salazzo. I'm a senior engineer in the board's flood system improvement branch. I'll be leading item 9C, which is an informational briefing on the Merced County's Black Rascal Creek Flood Control Project, which is under, oh, can you go back one? Okay, which is under permit 19643. I have Rob Tull, project manager from Jacobs Engineering, representing Merced County, who will be presenting a few slides as well. Oscar Ortiz, who's an administrative engineer from Merced County, plans to attend today, but he may be late and will be able to answer any questions, offer any comments at the end of the presentation. Okay, now we can move on to the next slide. Thank you. So today's presentation will focus on...
Oh, he is here.
Oh. Yeah. Hey, good to see you, Oscar.
Would you say his name again, please?
Oscar Ortiz, who had to drive all the way up from Merced, so.
Glad to see you.
All right.
All right. Thank you.
So today's presentation will focus on what's happened since our last briefing to the board in January of last year, which the events that have happened since then have centered around the Army Corps' risk-informed design process and development of final plans. So Rob will lead the project description, and then I'll take over for the risk-informed design update, schedule, and next steps. And then just a little bit of information on that picture, which is kind of on the right side of the slide. And what you're seeing there is flooding it's an aerial view of flooding that occurred in 2006. And it's the eastern side of the project site looking south. And Black Rascal Creek runs or meanders throughout the agricultural lands within the project site, and before running adjacent to Fairfields Canal, which runs along the Unit 1 West levee. The levees funnel floodwaters from higher elevations into the diversion channel just downstream of Yosemite, which is not on this slide. Before heading out to Merced, which would be to the right. Okay, now I'll just turn it over to Rob Tull from Jacobs Engineering to go through our project description. The next couple slides. Rob, would you mind coming up and speaking the next one? Okay.
Good morning, President Dolan and board members.
Good morning.
Rob Tull, Jacobs Engineering, I'm here on behalf of Merced County. We are very pleased to be here to participate in this briefing. This has been a long haul for us from project inception back over 12 years ago. So we are making progress, and so I'm here on a positive note for once. But the project is located about 115 miles south of Sacramento. It's in the right-hand corner there to the east of the city of Merced. The blue shaded area there is the levee protection zone that's been identified associated with the existing project, which includes the city of Merced and also the disadvantaged community of Franklin Beechwood. The Merced Streams Group supports this project. That includes Merced Irrigation District, Merced County, and the city of Merced. The existing facilities are state plan of flood control facilities identified in red there in the box, and then as Mike was noting, the Black Rascal Creek diversion channel diverts water from the original creek alignment down south to Bear Creek to prevent flooding into the city of Merced. The project is designed to provide flood protection up to the 200-year event per SB 5 and provides flood protection to the city and the county and adjacent areas. The project has received funding from NRCS on the federal side for design and construction, as well as from DWR from the Small Communities Program. So the project has received significant funding to date, and we are hoping to go to construction in the fall. Next slide. As noted, the original creek headed west into the city of Merced. There was extensive historical flooding, the most recent in 2006. which was assumed to be about a 100-year event. The original project was designed to be for a 50-year event, but under today's hydrologic conditions, it's probably more of a 20-year event, and there has been a number of historical floods over time, the last in 2006, that flooded all through the city of Merced and all the way over to Franklin Beachwood, endangered the treatment plant and other public facilities. Merced Streams Group, as I noted, is responsible for operations and maintenance of the project and are the proponent of the project going forward. So we're here on a very positive note, hoping to go to construction in the near term. So with that, I will hand it back to Mike.
All right, let's go on to the next slide. This is Mike Slauser from the board. Just want to give an overview of the project features. It'll consist of a flood control detention basin that would detain for less than 2 days about 2,000 acre-feet of water within the area generally outlined in blue. Shown in red, there will be a new levee with a seepage barrier wall constructed adjacent to the existing west levee, and another one adjacent to Yosemite Avenue, which runs on the southern boundary. The levees would be connected by an ungated principal spillway, which is referred to as an outlet on the figure on the right. And there's also an Ogie structure auxiliary spillway with a crest high enough to prevent overtopping during the 200-year event. It also includes new tributary channels to reconnect historical floodplains associated with Black Rascal Creek and provide fish and wildlife habitat. And it also includes a realigned main channel to better orient the channel into the spillway. Under the project classification, it's still protecting a leveed area, but the spillways make the project have dam-like characteristics. And because of this, the project has been designed to meet dam safety requirements for the Natural Resources Conservation Service and the Army Corps to control the 200-year event and to safely pass the probable maximum flood, or PMF, without failing. The California Division of Safety of Dams has reviewed the project and determined it is not a dam due to the passive nature of the principal spillway to not impound channel flows. Board staff has reviewed our standards for both dams and levees, and we agree that the levee standards apply better to this project, although a variance to freeboard standard may be required since the auxiliary spillway crest is less than 3 feet above the design water surface. We're still working out the details on that and whether the standard should apply or if it could be waived. And we're going to keep looking into that. So next slide. Okay, so since our last briefing, the project team has been working through the Army Corps' risk-informed design process following guidance issued in 2022. With that guidance developed tolerable risk guidelines for life safety, as well as providing guidance on assessing economic and environmental risks, following the principles of doing no harm. That is, like the project should avoid increasing risk to people and property above what is currently experienced, and to perform adequately under all ranges of loading. So the project team within that risk evaluation framework has met and conducted workshops to evaluate these risks, and which began with conducting a potential failure mode analysis and a semi-quantitative risk assessment to assess life safety risks, and found that the project results in near zero life safety risk for all possible storm events. Now, the project will, on the economic front, the project will avoid $21 million in damages the county experienced in 2006, which was around a 100-year event, and would expect to receive additional benefits for preventing a 200-year and a 500-year event. Now, the project may contribute to flooding during the PMF, but a lot of that could be due to other sources. And then environmental risks of project construction are being offset by those additional habitat features that are being proposed. After completing the risk assessment in August of '24, the team met with the risk-informed design group in October. They responded to its recommendations and met again on February 10th of this year and received favorable comments. Next slide. One of the recommendations from the RID group from our October 2024 meeting was to look at any additional economic risk induced on lands within the community because of the project. And here's a figure showing the change in water surface elevations for a 500-year event. Areas in blue represent a flood risk reduction, so areas that experience a flood risk reduction. And you can see that occurring within that levied area that Rob showed earlier on an earlier slide, and going through the west side of Merced on the left side. The area in red in the upper right, near the project site, is where elevations increase as water is being detained and depths increase over what is experienced otherwise. So the RID group was concerned about any risk that would be transferred to other lands during these more intense events from the 500, 600 up to the probable maximum flood, and whether that would be significant to require any additional easements, notifications to the public, or changes to the project. The project team found that it's possible the project could induce flooding during the PMF, but it's difficult to be certain, and it likely would be insignificant and not result in damages to existing structures. The team provided that information to the RID, the Risk Informed Design Group, and it agreed on the assessment and began drafting its recommendations. Next slide, please. I'm just going to skip this slide. Next slide again. Okay, so the RID group provided its recommendations earlier this month, which consists of the Office of Counsel providing written confirmation that it considered mitigating the effects of the project and that no additional notification is required other than what Merced County is already planning to conduct or has conducted. The Sacramento District technical staff will verify the probable maximum flood hydrograph, scaling, and proposed freeboard against Army Corps guidance. So no actions by by Merced County or Jacobs right now. Next slide. The path has been sort of long and windy for this project, beginning with a feasibility study that was completed in 2009, and Merced County then attempting to acquire federal funds for design and construction. Finally, in August of 2020, contacted the board to pursue approval under Section 408 for the Army Corps program and a board permit. We've been working through this project to the point where we have now, at the final design stage, we received final plans in October of 2025. The Army Corps expects to complete its response to the RID recommendations and issue its notice of complete submittal in late March, early April of this year, which allows us to bring this item for potential board to consider, for the board to consider as a hearing item with the presentation in the April 2026 board meeting, with constructions planning to start in October of this year. Next slide, please. So the next steps are for Merced County to update its final designs and those hydrology and hydraulics elements, and close out the safety assurance review process, and then submit that to the Army Corps for a quick and efficient review. The Army Corps will respond to the RID group's recommendations. And again, there's no real action from the project proponent's side, but we are waiting on the notice of complete submittal, which will start the 60-day clock or review period for the Army Corps division to review the project within the Army Corps Section 408 process. And that's all that I have today. We give these briefings to the board to offer an opportunity for the board to comment, ask questions, for staff and the project team to consider during its review in preparation of the staff report ahead of the the hearing coming up in April. I want to thank you for your time. Thank Rob Toll for being here, and I just want to offer an opportunity to Oscar if you want to have any words. Or, okay. All right.
Mr. Ortiz, do you have anything to say? You're going to listen to us.
Yeah, I'm just going to.
Okay.
So you're good? Yeah. Okay. All right. So that's it.
That's
Thank you very
good.
much.
Please sit. Two things that I have, then I'll go to the board. Would you remind me again of who and what is the RID?
So the RID is the Risk Informed Design Group in the Army Corps. It consists of technical experts within the field of hydrology, risk assessments for geotechnical concerns, and a risk assessment coordinator that were appointed by the Risk Management Center within the Army Corps.
Okay, so it's within the Army Corps, and then the Army Corps will review what's within the Army Corps to see if it's all right, because you have to go up the chain of command, right?
I don't know. It does not. So there are stages or steps.
Oh, yes.
So first, right, there's an oversight group, and then there's a senior oversight group. So we presented to the oversight group and determined there's no need to elevate it.
Okay.
So.
Okay, well, let's review. It's going to be done, it should be done correctly, so it looks like it's headed that way. So the target is March, April for the board to actually take action?
We're looking at April.
April?
Yeah.
Okay.
It'll be a busy month with our workshop and presentation.
Okay, yeah,
So-
well, we've heard this before, so we've kind of moved forward. It has been 19 years. And that would be, that would be express, because it was 23 years for Hamilton City. So good job staying on top of it. Okay. Board members, any comments, questions? Looking over here for Andrew? No, you don't have your Bosler. I can see that you've done that.
Yeah, no, I thank you to the county for being here today, and just thanks for your leadership and persistence in getting this project. I was able to listen to the RFMP for the San Joaquin, I think it was last week, or was it this week? Last week. I can't remember. This week. Okay, it's been a long week.
Recently.
It would be really helpful, like, to better understand how we can maybe highlight some of the struggles you've had with permitting on this project, and how we can try and fix that going forward. And so I would like to try and work on that, however we can, because we can't wait this long for these kinds of common sense projects to be moved forward. And so I don't know if there's anything you want to share today, Rob. You very clearly said that just in terms of how big of a struggle the permitting process has been.
You only have an hour to explain the problem.
To try to speak on behalf of Merced County is kind of hard to do, because they're the ones who've been involved in the process for the last, decade. But what I can say is, during their course of working with the team and understanding all the different permits that the project team has to acquire, the only thing that's been really a headache for us, I wouldn't say a headache, but more difficult to obtain, is this Army Corps Section
Right.
4A
Yeah.
approval. Everything else is already done.
Right.
So, again, we were looking at following a process for risk assessments through the Army Corps' dam safety regulations, levee safety regulations, their engineering manuals, and then I think what happened was in October of 22, we had this new guidance that was presented to us, caused us to go back to the drawing board, so to speak, with the PMFA, the SQRA, costing the project $1 million or so to comply with these new regulations. We all understand that it's in order to make the project safer, better, which is fine, but we're just trying to deal with that the best we can.
It's clear that you are doing that. Yes, it is a struggle with the history of permitting. We made a big step earlier to modernize ours, so maybe someone else can do that as well. Okay. Mr. Countryman, do you have any comments on this?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I, in my different role as a civil engineer, I was involved in 2 separate flood events down in this area. I'm very familiar with the areas that are subject to flooding and what the hydraulics and layout of this situation is. And this is probably the San Joaquin Basin's #1 flood area. It's not theoretical. It's flooded several times at a relatively low flood level occurrence. And this project is way overdue. I'm really glad to see that something's happening moving forward. I guess what I'm not clear on is the Corps involvement here strictly 408? Are they doing part of the design? Or is there any federal money in this project? I'm just not clear on that.
Looks like Mr. Zalazo is going to answer that. So any federal money?
So let's start with Mike Salazar board. Starting off with the federal money. The money is, there is a grant funding from the Natural Resources Conservation Service for design and construction. There wasn't any funding from direct spending from the Congress or for Army Corps for this project. Mm-hmm. State funding, I think we had some grants from DWR as well. And then the second part of your question about being involved in the design of the project, this is strictly a 408 project, and it originally started off trying to acquire a federal authorization for design, construction, but moved into a direction of a project applicant submitting a request to the board, to the Army Corps for a permission and a permit. And that's all been on the responsibility of Merced County.
I see. Well, I mean, that's going to move a lot faster than if it was a traditional Corps project, for sure.
5 years faster. But they do take time. That was a heavy lift for the county to do that. Good job. Thank you, Mr. Ortiz, for being here. Board Member Johnson, do you have any comments or questions on this presentation? It's informational today.
I do not. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone in the audience? Mr. Ortiz, since you made this trip, we would like to hear from you.
Yeah, President Dolan, members of the board, Oscar Ortiz with Merced County Public Works Department. I just want to extend our gratitude and thankfulness for you guys, the agencies and you guys supporting the project. As they mentioned, different guidelines, different changes. So we do appreciate that support from the staff level to the board level. And I also wanted to highlight that additionally to the Restore Habitat to the project, there's also has been secure about $3.7 million of environmental mitigations for the project. So we are working. We're working in a fast track schedule. So thank you.
Fast track has its own definition for these projects, doesn't it? But thank you for pointing out once again that there is habitat restoration as part of this project. That's #1 goal is life safety and property. Yeah, thank you very much. Anyone else in the audience wish to say anything? Okay, conservation strategy people pass on that there is habitat restoration, okay? It's the goal of the board, along with life safety and property safety. Okay, anyone online with a hand up? I don't see anyone else with a hand up here, so we can move on. Is that right? Okay. Thank you, gentlemen. Us guys are grateful that you're here today. Just me. Okay, we'll look for something in April, and I hope I'm here. Okay, Department of Water Resources. 2 items. you come forward, I'll just say that we have received a written report, as we do each month, that Department of Water Resources provides of their activities and issues. But today, we will hear from Hillary Murphy, Flood Planning Branch, for an update of the 2027 Central Valley Flood Protection Plan. And it's still, wow, this is moving rapidly. It's the morning. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Board President Dolan, members of the board. Thank you for having me here today. My name is Hillary Murphy. I'm manager of the Central Valley Flood Planning section at the Department of Water Resources, and I'm here to present an update on the 2027 Central Valley Flood Protection Plan update. Next slide, please. In today's presentation, we'll start with a background of the plan. Then we'll discuss some of the key highlights of this 2027 CVFPP update, and we'll wrap things up with looking ahead at some of the key milestones as we work towards final plan adoption. Next slide, please. I'll begin with a brief overview of the Central Valley Flood Protection Plan. In 2008, the Central Valley Flood Protection Act initiated the development of the first Central Valley Flood Protection Plan, which was adopted in 2012. The act also required that the plan be updated every 5 years. We're working on our third update to the plan in 2027. The plan is California's strategic blueprint for managing flood risk in the Central Valley. It guides the state's policies, investments, and partnerships over a 30-year planning horizon. It includes a diverse portfolio of management actions that balance system-wide urban, rural, and small community needs while also addressing residual risk. And it represents a coordinated long-term strategy for reducing flood risk across a complex and interconnected system. Next slide, please. There are several defining characteristics of the plan. First, it's focused on the State Plan of Flood Control System, which consists of approximately 1,600 miles of state federal levees and an extensive system of bypasses and floodways. It's also descriptive. The plan does not fund or permit specific projects. Instead, it establishes the strategic direction that informs investment and implementation decisions. It's also collaborative. The CVFPP is developed through strong coordination among DWR, this board, federal agencies, regional partners, and local agencies. Fourth, it recommends bold investments and actions to reduce flood risk over a 30-year planning horizon. And finally, it promotes multi-benefit approaches, integrating ecosystem function, resiliency, sustainability, and broader landscape considerations into flood management. Next slide, please. Each 5-year update builds upon past work and serves 3 primary functions. First, it evaluates. We update the flood risk assessment and identify proposed flood management actions, the investments needed to implement them, along with potential funding sources. It also recommends. The plan identifies regional and state priorities, barriers to implementation, and policy guidance to support alignment and progress. It also tracks. We document implementation progress, accomplishments, and overall performance since prior plans. So the plan is both forward-looking and reflective, and is updated based on our current understanding of the system and progress to date. Next slide, please. The CVFPP is built on several core components, each led by dedicated teams whose work feeds directly into the plan. The plan development team leads overall coordination and integration across the update. While this team helps bring the pieces together, the success of the CVFPP depends on the many teams and subject matter experts whose work informs each component. The technical analysis evaluates how water moves throughout the system, how infrastructure performs, identifying future flood impacts, system vulnerabilities, and life risk using the best available tools and latest climate science. The conservation strategy guides integration of nature-based solutions and ecosystem objectives into flood risk management. The flood system status report and descriptive document describe the current condition of the State Plan of Flood Control System. The investment strategy identifies needed management actions, estimates costs, and recommends funding and delivery approaches. And the Regional Flood Management Program ensures regional priorities and local expertise is incorporated into the plan. Together, these components form the foundation of a coordinated and comprehensive plan update. Next slide, please. Beyond the individual components I just described, the success of the CVFPP depends on strong coordination across partners. The CVFPP relies on collaboration among state agencies, federal partners, local agencies, tribal governments, and the academic community. The Central Valley Flood Protection Board plays an essential role in this process, supporting the communication and engagement necessary for successful plan development through board meetings, workshops, coordinating committee meetings, and ultimately adopting the final plan. This coordination also extends beyond traditional flood management programs. It reflects an important reality that flood management does not operate in isolation. We are working with one interconnected system where flood risk reduction, ecosystem health, water supply reliability, groundwater recharge, and long-term resilience are all linked. The 2027 update will place an emphasis on clearly communicating these connections and identifying where coordinated action can deliver greater benefit than one effort alone. Next slide, please. So now that we've covered some of the background of the plan, I want to spend some time diving into what's new for the 2027 update, starting with a new interactive web-based CVFPP portal, which will improve transparency, data sharing, accountability, and access to information for partners and the public. We also have updates to the technical analysis, which will incorporate the latest climate science. We've expanded conservation integration, building on prior CVFPP updates to continue to align flood and ecosystem benefits. Additionally, our team has developed a new flood-specific social vulnerability index, also referred to as an SVI. It's the first of its kind tool tailored to flood-related vulnerabilities. And then lastly, the 2027 update will have 6 chapters, which is 2 more than past plans have had. 1 chapter dedicated to the San Joaquin Basin and 1 dedicated to the Sacramento Basin. And that will allow us to go into more detail than we have in the past and the unique challenges, landscapes, and opportunities within each basin. And on the next set of slides, I'll go into those in more detail. Alongside the written 2027 plan, the team is developing an interactive online platform, which we've referred to as the 2027 CVFPP portal. We're really excited about this addition because it represents a significant step forward in transparency, accessibility, and usability. The portal will be public-facing and will do more than just host the plan document. It will provide technical analysis results and performance tracking information, conservation guidance and tools, access to key management actions included in the plan. It will also have a map-based data viewer and a searchable data library. So this will allow flood practitioners, local agencies, and partners to access technical and conservation data that can support their own project planning and implementation efforts. As we develop the portal, we're rolling out early versions to the coordinating committee and RFMP partners. Earlier this week, we held our quarterly RFMP meetings where we shared the conservation content that has been developed so far for the portal. This is the piece that has been developed the most so far. And we've asked our partners to begin reviewing it so they can help shape its refinement. In addition to the public-facing components of the portal, we will also include secure password-protected areas for partner collaboration. The primary example of this is the Management Action Tracking System, which we refer to as MATS. RFMP partners are actively working within MATS to submit updated project information, and that information is directly informing the investment strategy, conservation integration, the technical analysis, and the performance tracking. We believe the CVFPP portal will fundamentally change how the plan is used, shifting it from a static document that's updated every 5 years to a more accessible platform that supports ongoing coordination, transparency, and implementation support. Next slide, please. So I just discussed how the portal will improve access to technical data and results. Now I'd like to take a moment to expand on some of the key features of the updated technical analysis. We are incorporating the latest reservoir operation studies and recommendations into our flood risk analysis. In the Sacramento Basin, this includes updates associated with the water control manual process, as well as forecast-informed reservoir operations, or FIRO, at facilities such as Folsom, Oroville, and New Bullards Bar. In the San Joaquin Basin, we are incorporating results from the Floodmar watershed studies, which include 7 major reservoirs. These studies enhance our understanding of how reservoir operations influence downstream flood risk and overall performance. And at the upcoming April board meeting, we plan to provide a presentation on those watershed studies and how they're integrated into the plan. We are also updating analytical tools into this effort. So our hydrology has been refreshed using the latest climate science, which aligns with the watershed studies and is consistent across DWR programs. At the same time, we're updating our hydraulic modeling to reflect current system conditions and proposed plan actions. We've also developed the flood-specific social vulnerability index and identified areas of higher social vulnerability. And within the technical analysis, we are ensuring these communities are appropriately reflected within the flood risk assessment. And I'll share more about that flood social vulnerability index later in the presentation. Together, these updates strengthen the technical foundation of the plan and improve our ability to understand both current and future system performance. Next slide, please. In addition to strengthening the technical foundation, the 2027 update also strengthens how conservation is integrated into the plan. Conservation is not treated as a standalone effort. Instead, it is being integrated throughout the CVFPP narrative, ensuring that conservation outcomes are considered alongside flood risk reduction. We are highlighting case studies that reflect lessons learned from implementation, including successes navigating permitting, land use constraints, operational considerations, and funding alignment. These examples are intended to help practitioners build on past successes and better anticipate challenges. On the technical side, we are expanding recent ecological floodplain modeling from San Joaquin into the Sacramento Valley to support conceptual planning for nature-based solutions. We're also continuing to track measurable conservation strategy objectives, documenting how flood management actions contribute to ecological outcomes over time. And through the CVFPP portal, guidance, data, and practical implementation tools will be more accessible to partners and practitioners. Overall, the 2027 update strengthens the connection between flood risk reduction and ecosystem function, recognizing that a resilient and sustainable flood system should also support broader landscape, habitat, and climate objectives. Next slide, please. Beyond the updated technical analysis and conservation integration, the 2027 update also deepens the plan's focus on equity. The CVFPP has always kept people at its center, the lives, homes, and communities at risk. But we know that flood impacts are not felt equally. Social, economic, and housing conditions can make some populations far more vulnerable, not just to the flood itself, but to the long-term impacts that follow. For the 2027 update, DWR developed the first flood-specific social vulnerability index in the state. This flood SVI is designed specifically for flood planning. It focuses on flood-related stressors, like the ability to evacuate, housing type, and access to transportation, and it better captures populations that traditional indices often overlook, such as mobile home residents and migrant workers. It's important to be clear what the SVI is and what it is not. On its own, the flood SVI does not measure risk. It tells us who would be the most impacted if flooding were to occur. To understand where the greatest needs exist, we overlay the flood SVI with our flood hazard and inundation mapping. When we combine the risk, where flooding is likely to occur and how severe it would be, with social vulnerability, who would have the hardest time preparing, responding, or recovering, we can identify the communities that face the greatest combined threat. That intersection is what guides more targeted planning, smarter investments, and stronger emergency preparedness and recovery strategies. So in short, the flood SVI strengthens the equity focus of the CVFPP by helping us move beyond where flooding may happen to understand who needs the most support when it does. Next slide, please. Building on the updates I've just described, I'd like to briefly walk through the overall structure of the 2027 update. For this cycle, the plan will be organized into 6 chapters. In prior updates, the plan included 4 chapters. For 2027, we're adding 2 dedicated basin-specific chapters, one for San Joaquin and one for Sacramento. The first 3 chapters continue to provide system-wide framing, introducing the plan, documenting progress and alignment since 2022, describing how the state system-wide investment approach is evolving to respond to climate pressures and system needs. The addition of basin-specific chapters allows us to present more focused narratives for each basin, highlighting distinct system characteristics, landscape conditions, and regional priorities in a way that builds on the strong foundation established in previous updates. Chapter 6 then translates from vision into action, outlining the investment funding approach and the actions needed to translate the plan into implementation. Overall, the structure maintains the comprehensive system-wide perspectives of the past while providing additional clarity and emphasis at the basin level. Next slide, please. To close, I'd like to walk through the key milestones for plan delivery. We're currently in active chapter development. The CVFPP team is drafting content across all 6 chapters while continuing close coordination across our technical, conservation, and investment teams. In the coming months, we'll share basin chapter content with the RFMPs for review and feedback to ensure regional priorities are accurately reflected, as well as sharing an early look at our preliminary technical results. Following that coordination, we anticipate preparing an administrative draft for DWR executive review, as well as RFMP input and alignment. We then expect to release a public draft to the board and for public review in early 2027, with final adoption of the plan targeted for Q3 of 2027. And in parallel, we'll continue developing the CVFPP portal with full public rollout anticipated shortly after plan delivery. Throughout the process, we'll continue providing regular in-depth updates at coordinating committee meetings or quarterly RFMP meetings, in addition to updates at board meetings and board workshops. This includes the upcoming April board meeting, where we will focus on San Joaquin watershed studies in their integration and alignment with the CVFPP technical analysis. Next slide, please. So as we move toward the 2027 update, we're excited to not just deliver the plan, but to also deliver a more accessible and transparent way to use it through the CVFPP portal. We look forward to continuing to work with the board and our partners as we refine both the plan and portal in the coming months. And with that, I just want to thank you for your time today and see if there are any questions.
Well, we thank you for your time as well, and a very visual presentation that you have provided to us. I hope we put this on our website. This is good indication of the activities that are ongoing and those that are projected. So thank you for that. Board members, input? Nothing up.
No, just thank you for being
Martha.
here today, and I'm really impressed with DWR's professionalism and work, that their thoughtfulness that they're putting into really scoping the next version of this plan. I think it's really powerful. I personally want to echo some of the comments I heard at the RFMP, which is, how are we going to actually move forward on the activities in the plan? And that's, a funding issue. It's a big issue, but I really commend DWR's scope of really trying to think thoughtfully about how to make this a living and breathing document, and also really update it for current issues that are emerging.
Well said. Member Andrews?
Just teeing off that, thank you as well for being here today. And I am curious, having watched this process run through multiple times, in the last version of the plan, there was a very nice sort of summary document about the financial need that I thought was a very powerful piece. I'm not sure, how it was made use of, but it did seem like a very useful component to make available together with the plan. Is there an intention to develop a summary of that sort for this iteration of the plan as well?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, our funding essentials brochure, we have heard has been very useful in some of the advocation or in education to legislators. So we certainly plan to create something similar this time around.
Terrific. Thank you.
We'd be happy to join you on that. Just brings to mind this excellent article in the Sacramento Bee about how there was a lot of activity when there was flooding in 1986, and then it didn't, and so everybody thought it was all over, but there's a lot of things to do. Mr. Countryman, do you have any comments or sage advice?
Not at this time.
Oh, disappointed. Member Johnson, you have been very active in this with the advisory committee. You and Member Andrews have really brought forward a lot of focus on how that needs to be part of the plan.
Yes, I don't have anything to add, but I do want to thank DWR folks for all of the hard work and good coordination and for the great presentation.
Thank you for that. Some of us have been through more than one plan. This one and its focus on cooperation, communication, and looking for ways to not just describe what needs to be done, but describe how it can get done. Seems great. And each time you come, you just tell your folks that put all this together with this pretty stuff. They do a good job. Mine are just text, so I'm jealous. But it's good. The visual is very helpful, so we'll get this up on our website. So thank you for that. Anyone in the audience? We've got a little cadre here, DWR. Do you want to say, good job, Hillary? And all of you. I think you contributed just a little bit, but good job there. Okay. Anyone else here? Any RFMP folks that want to say, I'm glad that we're part of this? And I don't see any of our conservation strategy folks. So that's Mr. Johnson brings that forward. I'm talking about the private sector. They're the ones I like. I like you though. I do. Sorry. I'm going to stop. I like the partnership. I truly like the partnership. And I really, the improved communication with every entity or organization, and especially the board and DWR, has just been very helpful. We are more powerful when we do it together. Hands up on this one, Darren Soon. Mr. Soon, you can unmute yourself. And good morning.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, thank you, President Dolan, members of the board. It's great to see you all. Darren Soon, San Joaquin Area Flood Control Agency. Hey, I just wanted
You need to slow down on how you're talking so we can absorb it.
Can you hear it? Can you hear me now?
You're a little quiet, which surprises me.
Is that coming through okay?
Better. Yes. Go.
Okay. Good morning, board members. I just wanted to quickly applaud Hillary, DWR, and the DWR team for their ongoing efforts to improve this process. The tools, I think, were fantastic. To see the portal and the map tool, I think this is going to come in handy and be able to further educate our state on flood risk throughout the Central Valley, especially this San Joaquin Basin. So we are grateful for your efforts, especially in the RFMP realm. We had a chance to participate in that this past week, and it was really well done. So just applauding those efforts and grateful to the board for highlighting the flood risk in San Joaquin and Sacramento Basins. Thank you.
Well said. Thank you for your comments. Anyone else online with a hand up? You have anything you wish to wrap up, Ms. Murphy?
No, that's
No?
it. Yeah.
Okay.
Great, thank you.
We'll take a break and we'll take photos. Okay. Last call for anyone who wants to say something. Okay, we'll move on. We look forward to future meetings on this. It's always good to not wait till the end. Got some nods over there. You're all sitting together here on the right, my right. Oh, we got our staff. Great. Okay, staff activity reports. That's where we are. Is that right? Need some help here where I am. We have written updates from our executive staff and administrative. Did that come this morning? The operations branch, the flood system improvement branch, and the natural resources management and planning division always gets the star for the most number of pages. And then thank you to our executive officer who puts forward information on the delegated permits. So sometimes people say, do we ever get any permits done? And the delegated permit process has something that has sped it up. There's 3 of you there that are laughing at something I said. So what is it?
We didn't hear who got the star. Yeah, we missed that.
Which one did I miss?
For the longest one.
Natural Resources Management and Planning Division. Gets the star for the most pages.
Most comprehensive.
Well, most comprehensive, most pages. It's, it's good. It's good. It doesn't mean they're doing more work than the rest of you. Okay, yes, it does. All right. That's the end there. That's the end there. Here it is. This is administrative report today, so I'll just say, I will read that, and I'm sure it's as good as it's been in the past. Okay. Board comments? Any board member? I'm going to start over here and name you. Do you want to make comments of what you're doing or committees that you're involved with? Member Andrews.
Thank you. I was able, as was Member Bosler, to participate in the San Joaquin Basin RFMP meeting earlier this week, which was great to be able to participate. It's wonderful to get to be in the same room, but it's more wonderful to actually get to participate with everyone who's involved across a very large geography. So I was grateful it was on Zoom and helpful to hear what's going on in that arena and what the RFMPs are being directed to do and invited to comment on. We also had an advisory committee meeting on Tuesday this week. It's been a busy week. And had a good discussion about where next effort gets put, and our work groups are looking at their upcoming activities, and we recognize that there are activities that are appropriate for the board to take the lead on. And so a subgroup of us will be meeting to determine which priorities the board takes on in terms of furthering some of the recommendations of the advisory committee this year.
The advisory committee did a great job on outlining everything that could be done, has been done, should be done. So I was listening in there about how maybe the board members and the board staff needs to figure out what of that multiple pages we can actually accomplish in a time frame that is appropriate.
And where we can specifically contribute.
Right, and
Yes.
pound away for the money that we need to take care of the needs of the state. We're not alone in that, that's for sure.
Yes.
Member Bosler?
I don't have anything to add, but yeah, just really enjoyed listening and learning at the RFMP meeting this week with my fellow board member, and just impressed with all of the activity that's going on, but also realizing that, you know, we need to be able to figure out how to move more expeditiously, and funding is a big part of that.
We call it essential, too. Member Countryman, do you have any, how are you doing? And give us your comments on what you've been, how you've been acting while we can't see you in person until you get better. There's your picture.
So I was going to give you an update. I'm actually up and walking now with a walker, these short distances. And I'm hopeful, very optimistic that the March board meeting I'll be able to attend in person. So I'm really looking forward to that. And this broken ankle thing is no joke. It's really tough because you can't put any weight on your foot, and it's difficult. So anyway, I'm looking forward to rejoining the board in person in March.
We look forward to that, too. You're on a very wide photo that we can see you. We can see that you moved your hand to your chin and when you're talking. So at least we have that. So hope to see you. Member Johnson, unfortunately, we only see your name, not you.
It's better that way.
No, sorry you got this. Is it the flu or something? Boy, is it going around. So I hope yours is quick. Got any comments?
I hope so too. I'll make my report quick. I attended the Sac Valley RFMP and participated in some advisory committee discussions. They were all good, and I look forward to doing more and reporting more when I'm more easily able to talk.
We all are. I missed the RFMPs because I had private things that I needed to take care of, but I do want to say that I said, please send me all your information, and they did, so I appreciate that. So even though I was not able to because of my own personal schedule to do that, I got some homework. And I just wanted to say, I think one of the best things this board did was to promote the formation of regional flood management planning, and to really highlight how those who are there every single day taking care of their folks, their projects, their areas, and to communicate that with those of us that are trying to make it work. It's just so important. I'm sorry that the funding issues made it all quarterly and sort of combined it, but I think for the basins, it's kind of helpful that they can communicate with each other. So maybe things will improve and we can get some robust funding back for that, but I believe the board is dedicated to make sure it continues because it's effective and it's helpful. And that's not to denigrate the work of all the state agencies. It's just very meaningful to get the state agencies who are wonderful. You're all smiling. I think you ought to smile. I think you're great. But I think those local folks can give input that is pretty important as well. Makes us all better. So there you are. Okay, upcoming meetings. Coordinating committee is set to meet March 24th at the West Sacramento City Hall with its just unremarkable audio equipment, but hopefully it gets better. If the city is listening, I'm sorry, but maybe you need to put a little more effort in there, or bring fresh air. Just saying. They're also being in present and then online. Next board meeting is March 27th, and it'll be in this building. We're just never really sure which room we get. But here we are. Board workshop on April 10th. Location to be determined. Is that the one we're doing a site visit?
Field trip, yeah.
We think doing a field trip. And we hope board member Grego can be part of that since it's basically her backyard. Board meeting, and then board meeting April 24th, also here. So those are the announcements. The board is going to take a closed session. So did we determine that the board can go somewhere and the audience can stay here? We're going to go into the editing room. So you all can sit here, you can mosey, you can talk, you can share how wonderful we are. And we'll be back. How long do you think? Mr. Dua?
Shouldn't be more than 10 minutes.
Okay, it all depends on whether we talk. Okay, we're going into the equipment room. You all stay here. We'll be back. The board is adjourning to closed session. And we'll be back. And we'll be calling the two board members. The board reconvenes from holding a closed session on a litigation matter. We got an update from our attorney, and that's what we got, an update. No decision has been made. So we have no further business before the board. The board meeting is adjourned.